Good evening. I'm Larry Barrett, President of Florida Gateway College.
And I'm Danielle Decker, Executive Director of the Lake City Columbia County Chamber of Commerce.
Each election year since 1986, the college has been proud to present candidate forums. This program gives you a chance to meet and hear the views of candidates in our area who are seeking public office.
Once again this year, we're pleased to team up with the Lake City Reporter in bringing you this important program.
Please remember, early voting begins August 20th and continues through August 27th. Election day for the primary is August 30th.
Thanks for watching.
From Florida Gateway College, this is Candidate Forum 2016. Tonight, the candidates for County Commission District 1 and District 5. Also, the candidates for Lake City Council District 12, the candidates for Lake City Mayor, and the candidates for 3rd Circuit Judge Group 1 will be here to answer questions of concern to you, the voters. Candidate Forum 2016 is sponsored by the Lake City Columbia County Chamber of Commerce, the Lake City Reporter, by Florida Gateway College, by Tommy Demas, Attorney at Law, and by Moe's. Now, here are your moderators for Candidate Forum 2016. The news editor of the Lake City Reporter, Robert Bridges, and from Florida Gateway College, Mike McKee.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Candidate Forum 2016. Along with Lake City Reporter editor Robert Bridges, I'm Mike McKee, and for the next 2.5 hours, we will hear from the candidates running for Columbia County Commission District 1 and District 5, Lake City Council District 12, Lake City Mayor, and 3rd Judicial Circuit Judge Group 1. The rules for our forum are that each candidate is given a 2-minute opening statement and a 2-minute close. Each candidate is afforded 2 minutes to answer each question. The only difference in our format this election cycle will be that we will not ask the same question of every candidate. The first segment of the night is with the candidates for County Commission District 1. The candidates are Onai Allen Brown, Toby Franklin Register, and the incumbent Ronald Williams. And as you can see, Ms. Brown and Mr. Williams are the ones who showed up this evening. We gave Mr. Register an opportunity. He refused to attend. We drew numbers prior to coming into the studio this evening, and candidate Brown drew the number 1. Ms. Brown, you have 2 minutes to make an opening statement to the voters of Columbia County.
Good evening. My name is Onai Brown Allen, and I am a candidate for County Commissioner of District 1. I'm married to Willie B. Allen. We have 2 children, Eddie and Brandon. Brandon is currently serving in the U.S. Army. I am a grandmother and a great-grandmother. And the reason why I wanted to run for County Commissioner of District 1 is because I know that it is time for a change. And I am the candidate that is best fitted for the change. I also know that I am the one who is willing to listen to the candidates, listen to the people, be a voice for the people. That's what I'm here for. I am Onai Brown Allen.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. It's time now for an opening statement from Commissioner Ron Williams.
Good evening, Columbia County. I am the County Commissioner of District 1. I have served as your County Commissioner for over 30 years as the Commissioner of District 1. I am married to Gwen Williams. We have 3 kids. We have 2 great-grands, 6 grands. I still have the passion for Columbia County in my heart. I am a hands-on, catch the bulls by the horns commissioner. Folks, you all know me. I call it like I see it. I don't ride the fence, and I call an ace and a spade a spade. I deeply love Columbia County. I love District 1, and I want to continue to work to be the County Commissioner of District 1. You know my track record. I have set the bars high for the standards of District 1. No matter what the situation, the residents of Columbia County, especially District 1, can count on Ron Williams simply because they know I catch the bulls by the horn. They know that I'm for them in the time of need. When we look at the Bugaboo Fire, when we look at the tornadoes, when we look at the floods, Ron have always been there for the citizens of District 1 and Columbia County. I believe that there are 3 groups of people in Columbia County that need special attention. That's our youth, they are our future. Our senior citizens, they are our role models. And our veterans, they have protected our past, enabling us to have a future. Yes, I am Ron Williams, and I am the County Commissioner of District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. It's now time for the question and answer segment of our broadcast in this segment. And to ask the questions from the Lake City Reporter is Robert Bridges. Robert, we begin with Ms. Onai Allen.
Thank you, Mike. Ms. Allen, in recent months you have begun attending county commission meetings and shown interest in the issues that are discussed there. If you were to lose this election, will that interest in these issues continue, or will it end along with your campaign?
Oh, no, definitely it will not end it, because I've been going to the county commissioner meeting for the last 4 years, ever since the last election. And I will continue to go because I have a passion to represent the people, and I want to be abreast of what's happening with District 1 and Columbia County. In order for me to be a good commissioner, I need to know what's happening. I need to hear what's going on. I need to know what is it that I can do different to make a difference. So, no, sir, I will continue to go, and I will continue to be involved in the community. I will continue to talk to the citizens of District 1 and Columbia County, because I want Columbia County to be the best, and I definitely want to represent District 1 to the best of my ability. I am not a quitter. I am a go-getter. Just because I got knocked down once, that doesn't mean anything to me, because I want this position. I know that I can do it, and I'm not giving up until I am elected County Commissioner of District 1.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, next question for you. On your watch, the Suwannee Valley Transit Authority paid out more than $192,000 in excess pay to 2 top executives of that agency, this according to a state audit. For more than a year, you repeatedly told the Lake City Reporter that those payments had been authorized by the Suwannee Valley Transit Authority Board of Directors, even though during that same time you admitted to investigators for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement that that wasn't true, that the SVTA board never did approve those expenditures. Sir, why did you say one thing to readers of the Lake City Reporter for more than a year and something entirely different to state law enforcement agents?
Robert, we've been through this time and time again. I stick by what I said. It was fully investigated by FDLE. I stand by my commitment. And that's all I have to say about that issue there. But Ms. Allen has said that she have attended every board meeting, most of the board meetings before, after she was defeated last time. She started about 2 years ago coming to the meeting, but she have never been to a budget workshop. She have never been to any of the things that we have done when it's setting forth the makeup of the budgets and how we have to spend money and allocate money. That is the most important part of the time to come. When you are planning and setting the county budget in place in order to take Columbia County forward.
Okay. Ms. Allen, next question for you. Let's say, hypothetically, let's say a company that makes trampolines wants to relocate from some other state to Columbia County. They want a deal. They want a property tax abatement or maybe more. Now, let's say there's already a company that makes trampolines in Columbia County. They came in many years back and they didn't get any kind of deal when they set up shop. They don't want to see some new competitor of theirs get a deal either. But your constituents sure could use the jobs. Which way do you vote?
Well, thinking about it, the people that have been here, that have built companies from ground up, we have not given them any type of incentive. I think about like the hotels that come to Lake City. I'm not aware of us giving any of the hotels incentives. And with bringing in new companies, I do not want to see our money wasted with just giving them incentives. Me personally, what I think should happen is that there should be like a set guideline if we are going to offer incentive for companies, but it has to benefit the county and the citizens, because we just don't want to wastefully give away our money. And plus, our people here that have worked from the ground up, and we have not given them anything, I just really support our own people that have worked hard from the beginning, and we have not given them anything. So I would definitely be probably opposed unless we had someone that is skilled, and I'm not saying that the Board of County Commissioners are not, but maybe a negotiator that would have guidelines that would apply to that.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Mr. Williams, your next question. For more than 30 years, you have been the self-proclaimed king of pork for District 1. You said at a recent rally you'd take every penny of county money you could for your constituents. Sir, do you see yourself as in any way responsible for the welfare of the county as a whole, or is your only concern for what you perceive as the immediate needs of your district?
Mr. Bridges, I don't know how long you have known me, but Columbia County come first, and then it's my district. I am, and I tell everybody, when I got to be county commissioner of District 1, we was on the post of town, east side, west side, 5 Points, Benton Tower, Slocum, Union, Winfield, Springville. All those areas was forgotten about. We were behind. We had less than 15 miles of paved road in our entire district, which my district stretched from the Georgia line into Lake City. And I have worked hard in order to make sure that we get our fair share of everything. We know that Columbia County as a whole is what we're here for. And I don't know whether you realize this or not, I ran countywide on 2 occasions in one. Yes, I am for making sure that the residents of my constituents of District 1 get their fair share of the tax dollars that they pay into the tax coffin. And I will continue to do that as long as I'm county commissioner. Ms. Allen said on the incentives program that she not for incentives because we don't give local businesses that same opportunity. Well, she's been coming to board meetings, as she said, she would know that we gave CMS, a local business here, the same incentives that we have offered other retailers to come in when they expanded their business, they created jobs, and they was able to get an incentive package from the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We'll stay with you for the next question. Sir, are there any major votes you've cast during your most recent term that in hindsight you might cast differently today?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir.
All right. What was the question? I thought it was going to Ms. Onai.
I got us confused in
Okay.
the beginning. I apologize. Sir, are there any major votes you've cast during your most recent term that in hindsight you might cast differently today?
One can always question a way a commissioner vote, but it's one thing that you can go back and look over all my years as county commissioner that I'm not all over the target. I'm within the bullseye on the same similar situations that come up before the board. As I voted yay or nay on, it is very consistent. Being a county commissioner, you can't ride the fence. You got to be consistent. If it's A here and it's A over here, then it should be a yay or nay vote on A. Not because who's sponsoring A or who's sponsoring B. It's for what's right for Columbia County. A lot of time, it's not the solid majority out there that don't have a voice. But you make your vote for what you think is best for Columbia County, and once you do that, you feel that you have done what you should do. There have been a lot of controversial issues over my years' tendency of being a county commissioner. One was a vote that I made when we put the landfill in my back door, in our back door, in a sense of speaking. And the room was full of people. Only time I've seen, few times I've seen the commission hall full. I could have got up there and played politics and voted against it. Went back and told my constituents, well, you see, I voted against that landfill. But no, I did not do that. I told my constituents that night at that meeting, I said, I'm going to vote for the landfill because we need a landfill. It's going to go there whether I vote against it or not, but I'm going to vote for it, and I'm going to make sure that that landfill is ran the way it should be and not deteriorate our community.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Ms. Allen. Ms. Allen, being a county commissioner has been likened to being a member of the board of directors of a $100 million a year, give or take, corporation. What specific traits, training, or experience do you have to indicate that you're up to that task?
I'm up to the task because I'm a person who is willing to get out, learn at whatever extent that I need to. I've been in management, and I know that I can do this job without a doubt, because I will work tirelessly to do whatever I need to do to be qualified and to do the very best and represent District 1 and Columbia County to the utmost, because I want to be the voice for the people, and I will do, as I said, whatever it takes. I'll put in whatever time is needed, whatever research needs to be done. I will do that to the best of my ability to represent and to do the very best job that I can possibly give District 1 and Columbia County.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll stay with you, Ms. Allen, for the next question. We're bringing jobs into the county left and right, but almost all of them are minimum wage jobs, or might as well be. Is this the direction we need to be going? And if not, how do we change course?
The food service business is fine, but we need better paying jobs here in Columbia County. And I know that with new ideas, new people on the board, we can seek that. And in order to do that, I think we will need to incorporate our schools, the college, businesses, to get our people up to par, to have them qualified for different businesses that is possibly looking to relocate in the Lake City, Columbia County area. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get that done here.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, what are your thoughts about issues concerning animal control in Columbia County?
I'm sorry, Mr.
What are your thoughts concerning animal control in Columbia County?
Mr. Bridges, I'm an animal person. I love animals, but I am not going to be handcuffed by the present atmosphere about animal control. We are still a rural community. We have not, to this day, been able to figure out, is there commingling of money between the Humane Society and the animal shelter? We believe so, but we have not gotten the data that has been asked for. I am not, and I will never vote to tax dogs in this county. I don't believe that everybody that owns a dog, we got to put a tax on it for $10 or $15 or $20 per dog. What's going to be next? The farmers' hogs, or the horses, or the cows, or the chickens people raise? No, I think that if I don't want to, as a county commissioner, to go into the animal control business, but if we have to, then so be it. I think we can do it, and we definitely won't be taxing these homeowners, these pet owners, $5, $10, or $15 per head for the dogs or cats that they have in order to do so. Staff have already put together a proposal that we will have during our workshop, saying in the worst case scenario, if we have to go into the animal control business, this is what it's going to cost us to initially get started, and we will run animal control if we can't work out an agreement with the present animal shelter now.
Thank you, sir. We'll stick with you, Mr. Williams, for the next question. Sir, is tennis a viable means of economic development in Columbia County?
Mr. Bridges, it depends on how you look at it, in a sense of speaking. You know, we have our complex, and there was an article in the Lake City Reporter a few weeks ago that where over the period of the summer that economic impact to Columbia County was worth about $3 million that we probably didn't get. I look at tennis, soccer in the same arena as we do with our complex, our Southside complex. It brings outsiders into Columbia County, and when we put heads in beds, we prosper. Here's the windfall from it. When visitors come to Columbia County, they spend the night, we are not only talking about that dollar that they pay the hotel owner, we are talking about the sales tax, and the gas tax is generated from those individuals, no matter whether it's tennis, soccer, baseball, softball, or whatever. Our economic development, it could be on a sidebar as far as that goes, but you got to be able to have all of this, and I think it will be a windfall for Columbia County. Now let's go back to incentives for people that's coming to Lake City. You cannot, this day and time, have a business that come to Columbia County that you cannot offer an incentive to. Now my cousin right here have said that she is against incentives on one end, but on the next question she is saying, well, maybe we should have incentives. So is it, do we have incentives or do we not have incentives? That is the question.
Okay, Ms. Allen, this will be the last question of this segment for you, ma'am. Employers have expressed concerns over the readiness of the local workforce to fill certain kinds of higher paying jobs here. Should we ever be able to recruit them in significant number? What is the role of the County Commission in addressing this problem?
That is a very good question, Mr. Bridges. And I think that the county commissioners would play a great role in that, because we need to, as I said earlier, get with the schools to see what type of programs they have, to see how can we partner to see if the needs are being met. Also with the college to see what the college has to offer, to see how we can partner to make our citizens educated, qualified, and being ready for these good paying jobs. That is a significant part of it, is that getting our people qualified and being ready when these jobs, and if they do decide to come here, so it can help us economically for the people of District 1 and Columbia County.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. That concludes the question and answer portion of this segment. It's time now for each candidate to make a 2-minute closing statement. And since candidate Allen went first, she will go last. Candidate Williams, you now have 2 minutes to close our program.
Thank you, Mike. Columbia County, especially my constituents in District 1. I'm asking again for your support to keep Ron Williams your county commissioner. You know, you don't have to wonder about Ron Williams. You don't have to look for Ron Williams. You know that Ron Williams will work for the constituent of District 1 and look out for the well-being of Columbia County. I ask you to keep the fire going that we have started. It's not time to put it out now. Ms. Allen says it's time for a change. District 1 voters, just tell them this is no change, because you get $1 worth for $1 you invest in Ron Williams. Now let's go back and look at this overall picture. I have ran against, her husband have ran against me on 5 occasions, and you didn't give no change. She have ran against me 4 years ago, and you didn't give any change. So this time, don't give any change. Keep Ron Williams your county commissioner. Folks, I would like to say this. I love America. I love Columbia County, and I love District 1. We are all Americans. We are here in it to ourselves, by ourselves. We work together. There's no white, no black, no blue, no green, no rich, no poor. We should be, as Abraham Lincoln said in his Gettysburg Address, when he addressed this, said, 7 years ago, our father brought forth in this continental new nation, conceded liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, and then we will definitely be the part of Abe Lincoln.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. It's now time for a 2-minute close from Ms. Allen. Ms. Allen, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, voters and citizens of Columbia County. I am Onai Brown Allen, and if elected as your County Commissioner of District 1, I will treat everyone with respect, dignity, and I have the zeal. I will not wastefully spend our tax dollars. I will also give you the very best representation as possible. I will do everything that I can to make Columbia County and District 1 the best. It is time for change, and I am the person for the job. As you know, whenever you grow and change, you have a broader perspective for ideas, and that's me. That's what I want to bring to this table. So voters, you have the opportunity to make this change, and I am the upgrade for District 1, Columbia County, whether you do early voting, absentee, or April 30th. We can do this. It's not about my husband, it's about me. Columbia County, it is time for a change. I challenge you to challenge the tradition. Onai Brown Allen, the upgrade for District 1 and Columbia County. Thank you very much.
And that concludes the first segment of our candidate forum this evening. When we come back on Florida Gateway College Television and Power Country 102, we'll meet the candidates for Columbia County Commission District 5. You're watching Candidate Forum on Florida Gateway College Television.
Congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Being a registered nurse is a rewarding job. But if your career goals have you looking for more, Florida Gateway College can show you the way.
As a nurse, I love to help people, but I wanted to go further.
With our Bachelor of Science nursing degree, RNs have the opportunity to increase their career options and income earning potential.
Now I've got more choices, and the extra money isn't bad.
Start your journey today at Florida Gateway College.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Candidate Forum 2016. Along with the editor of the Lake City Reporter, Robert Bridges, I'm Mike McKee. Tonight's forum is brought to you by the law offices of Thomas Demas and Moe's Southwestern Grill. We'd like to thank them for their support of this election year programming. The rules for the program this evening, same as the first segment. Each candidate for County Commission will be given a 2-minute opening statement, and they'll give a 2-minute closing statement. And in between that, each candidate will be afforded 2 minutes to answer each question. The candidates for County Commission District 5 are in the number 1 seat, Kyle Green, and the number 2 seat is Scarlett Fresina, the incumbent, and the 3 seat, B. Coker, and number 4 is Tim Murphy. We drew numbers before we came out onto the set this evening, and Mr. Green drew the number 1. Mr. Green, you now have 2 minutes to make an opening statement to the voters of Columbia County.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Green. I'm currently running for Columbia County Commissioner over District 5 here. I'm proud to say, not only have I called Columbia County my home for the past 23 years, but also my family helped found Columbia County over 100 years ago, and not many people can say that. Of course, I'm young, I'm 23 years old, and I get asked the question all the time, Kyle, what makes you a qualified candidate to be able to have such a responsibility as being over a district in Columbia County? And to that I answer, I care. I'm not going to say these other candidates don't care, but I personally care, and I promise you that if I was elected to be your county commissioner, that I will go out to each person that's been neglected for all this whole time, that's been kind of ignored and hushed. I promise to go out to these people in the different parts of the county and try to do whatever I can to fix their issues. For too long, these county commissioners that have been in place have sat on their hands in regards to the issues facing Columbia County residents. We can't do that anymore. Our officials are elected by the people. They should be working for the people. Another one of the things that I've promised to do if I'm elected for county commissioner is give all my first year proceeds, all my first year salary, I'll put it back into the community to fund these programs that have been neglected all this time. I'm willing to work for you guys. No matter what it is, I'm going to be accessible. I'm going to be the most accessible county commissioner that you've had here in Columbia County. I don't care if it's 12 o'clock midnight. If you have an issue, I'll give my personal cell phone number out and you can contact me and I'll do anything I can to get it resolved. Again, I care for you guys, and I'm just willing to do anything and everything that I can to be a good county commissioner for you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green. Now time for Scarlett Fresina to make a 2-minute opening statement.
Good evening. I am Scarlett Parnell Fresina, and I am your District 5 County Commissioner. I'd like to start tonight by thanking the Lake City Reporter, Florida Gateway College, and the Lake City Columbia County Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this forum for us this evening. Thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you for allowing me to serve Columbia County these past 7.5 years. Columbia County is very special to me, and my roots run very deep here, and just like many of you, I want to see Columbia County grow and prosper, and we need to continue to make sure that our children are getting the best education possible so that they will be ready for college and the workforce, and that this will be a place that they will want to come back to and that they'll be able to come back to, so that they'll be able to raise their families and have jobs and lives here. And most of all, I am thankful that good family values are still important to us here in Columbia County, that this is a community where folks still believe in doing what is right. To me, living in Columbia County and serving the citizens here, it's not just an address and a job. Of all the different aspects of what I get to do each and every day, getting to help folks get answers to their questions and solutions to their particular issues, it's probably one of the things that I enjoy most about my job. I have worked hard for the citizens of District 5 and Columbia County. And whether it's meeting folks about a neighborhood issue, making tough decisions for you on the board, or taking your concerns to Tallahassee, I will continue to work hard, giving you my full attention and doing my best to be available to you at all times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fresina. It's now time for Be Faithful Coker to make an opening statement. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Be Faithful Coker. I too am a resident of Columbia County. I have been back home for 7 years, and I have spent those 7 years serving citizens in Columbia County. I've worked to create programs that provide education access to students, Hooked on Phonics reading programs. I've worked to create summer programs that provide students with opportunities to explore employment, access, to learn about new, different opportunities in terms of higher education. I've spent those 7 years providing meals to elderly citizens in the community, rehabbing elderly citizens' homes, providing art and culture in Columbia County, and I would continue to spend the next 4 years bringing forth changes that are necessary to help us in terms of economic growth, in terms of being the type of community that would attract businesses that could bring higher paying jobs and help us to attain the level of sufficiency we seek as citizens. I have 4 beautiful children who I want sincerely to be able to return to Columbia County with opportunities greater than the types of businesses we have over the past 8 years been bringing. And I believe together we can all work to help make Columbia County a stronger and more vibrant community. I want to be your county commissioner. I want to serve you in a way that is not the tradition. I want to help us regain or return accountability to the office. I want to increase public input. I believe that we have a lot of intelligent people here. We have a great intelligent staff on the commission. And if we all work together, we can identify ways that are creative and are able to help us be the best Columbia County we can be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our final opening statement comes from candidate Tim Murphy. Tim?
Hello, my name is Tim Murphy, and I'm seeking the office of County Commission District 5 because I'm concerned. I've got a great family here that's been very, very successful in life as general, and I'm seeking this office because our government is out of control. Just pay attention, if you would, please, while we're doing these forms and all the questions and answers. Come to me at any time. The biggest concern I've got is our overspending in our community. We cannot continue to prosper here in Columbia County when we're just so lax with any kind of dollars that we're bringing in and spending here. If you pay attention to the local news that's been going on here for the last couple of months, the 5 sitting at the top are responsible. Ultimately, all the responsibility goes to our county commissioners. And as your county commissioner, I'll be with the one that'll stand up and take a stand for you, the county. We cannot continue to grow this county in working. It's no more different than running our households at home. We cannot run an insufficient budget and just hope that the county is just sitting there with bucket loads of money to bring back to you. I'm just a regular, normal person. I've been in business in this county for 27 years. I sit on the Gateway Community College Vocational Advisory Board. I'm a member of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority, appointed by Governor Scott. I've got the real heart for being a public servant. For years, I was involved with all the recreation, public, Babe Ruth softball, baseball. I'm willing to work, and I don't need pictures on the papers, and I don't need my names on plaques. I'm just here to serve you to build a better future for your family and mine. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your opening remarks. It's time now for the question and answer segment of the broadcast. And to ask the questions is the editor of the Lake City Reporter, Robert Bridges. Robert, we start with Mr. Green.
Thanks, Mike. Mr. Green, some months back you proposed that the County Commission decriminalize marijuana. They rejected that proposal. What is your reaction to that decision, A? And B, do you plan to pursue this effort in any fashion?
Yes, I did try to get that passed here in Columbia County. I brought it up towards in front of the county commissioners, and I expected them to act on it and to hear me out on this issue. Unfortunately, that is why I'm running here today. That's why I'm running for county commissioner. I'm tired of putting things that need to be done in other people's hands. I want to go do it myself to make sure it gets done. As far as the county commission not passing a decriminalization ordinance for cannabis here in Columbia County, I would have to say, I think that they thought maybe they were doing the best interest of some of their voters. It was getting close to election time, and that's kind of a hot topic right now. You don't want to be on the wrong side of something, even if it would help a certain group of people. I would say, if they would have passed it, it obviously would have helped the minority groups. It would have helped the low income, because unfortunately in Columbia County there's not a lot for our teens to do. There's not a lot for our young people to do, so they end up getting on drugs, different things like that, and they get caught up. They make bad mistakes, and these bad choices make it where if they want to go to college 2 years down the road, they can't get accepted for financial aid. They'll always have this on the record if they want a good job, if they want to move up in a company. And the civil citation program, the decriminalization ordinance that so many other places and counties in the state of Florida have passed that I proposed here in Columbia County, it would have helped so many people if they would have just looked into it and at least voted on it. It was really disheartening when I brought this up to them, and a lot of people were concerned about it. We even had over 1,000 people here in Columbia County that had signed a petition to get it passed. So you know what, in the future, if I am elected, I will get something like that done here for Columbia County, because that's what we need.
Mrs. Fresina, Commissioner Fresina, next question is for you. With financial reserves dwindling and the County Commission forced to take out millions of dollars in loans for run-of-the-mill road projects, what do you think should be done with cash left over from the budget at the end of any given fiscal year?
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. When you say that that our reserves are dwindling, just a few years ago in 2010, our reserves were at $32 million. They are still at $20 million today. And Columbia County and others, government groups around the state, a healthy reserve is between 25 and 30%. And all of our reserves are at a minimum of 29% or higher. So we are very sound and healthy in our reserves, what we keep. And a lot of that year-end money that you're speaking of is what we have always used in the past to help get capital projects done in the community, whether it is paving roads or working on facilities, doing whatever capital outlay type project that we may need. That is exactly what we use that money for. And borrowing $3.5 million like we just did, you don't use, as an individual at home, you would never use, or most folks, their cash money that they have in the bank to buy a car or to renovate their home. Because if you can borrow $3.5 million at 1.5%, that money is cheaper today than it would be if you waited and spent it next year or the year after, even if you just simply look at the fact of inflation. And so I think that Columbia County continues to be very sound financially. We do exactly what we should be doing with our year-end money. We take care of our community. We're putting everything back into the community. There's no money being thrown away. Everything's put back into the community for public benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question for Ms. Coker. Ms. Coker, what is your view on economic incentives for companies that may want to build or relocate in Columbia County, and should they be considered only for industrial or high-tech operations, or might they be considered for retail development as well?
I believe that incentives are necessary to create value for the community, not just in terms of jobs, but the quality of life afforded to the citizens. Should they be considered? Of course they should be considered, not just for industrial companies, not just for companies that are desiring to relocate to Lake City or for retail. They should be considered across the board for companies that have the ability to bring some extraordinary value to the citizens in our community.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Murphy, next question for you. Mr. Murphy, you're currently a member of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority Board of Directors. Do you see any possible conflict between the two roles should you be elected to the County Commission?
No, Robert, of course not, because checking with the Attorney General's office, if elected by statute, I've got to resign as a member of the Hospital Authority. Of course, it was seeked out. People were concerned about that, but that's my own checking on it. But while we're on that topic, Robert, while serving on the Lakeshore Hospital Authority, I'm proud to say that in the last 4 years, we as a board, and 100% me voting for it, we have returned to the taxpayers of Columbia County $4.8 million. That's something that the Columbia County Board of Commissioners, not very many that I know of municipalities in North Florida has done so. And I've got, that is what it's worth, but I'm going to take this moment because I got a minute there, talking about the reserves and what have you. We've got some serious public safety issues sitting at hand. I spoke of this some while back. Not for 1 minute. If we've got these reserves, Robert, left here at the end of the year, we've got to take these reserves and dedicate them to these necessary situations. Our communications spoke of that. If not for 1 minute should we put public safety of our officers, our first responders, and our children in this community ahead of spending the year-end money. And they can say what they want to any politician that's been serving as a county commissioner in Columbia County for the last 40 years. It's a slush fund. And, you know, I've had numerous people come to me. They're really ready to tar and feather me if I were to support such a thing. The year-end, there's such an overabundance of taxes taxed to us, the citizens of Columbia County. There ain't no 4 years ago when I ran, just so everybody knows, there's $1 million per district slush fund. It's a built-in rigged system that I will take a stand to take control of because we are being overtaxed and not properly represented here in Columbia County.
Thank you, sir. We'll stick with you, Mr. Murphy, for the next question. Mr. Murphy, some individuals have expressed concerns that you have a relative currently serving on the county commission. Would having a relative on the board in any way compromise your ability to serve?
We went through that last time. If we're relatives, and we're third cousin, fourth cousin, something to that effect. But I guess Commissioner Nash would probably be the best one because I can almost assure you I'm probably one of the ones that chewed his tail even worse about some of these incentives than anybody else. We clash a lot more than we get along. But we are conservative adults that has lived in Columbia County for quite some time, and we serve Columbia County well. I'm not speaking for him. My track record speaks for itself. I'm here for the people. But if for 1 minute I can't sit across this commission board and not have a debate with somebody, we're all friends and family in this community. I mean, you know, myself and the commissioner that I'm running against, me and her uncle was almost best of friends, bless his heart. But, you know, I'm friends with everybody. I've got a lot of ties to Columbia County. Can I make a clear, honest decision upon a situation and sit here and debate with Rusty DeProuder? Me and Ron Williams have spent time on the front page of the Florida Times-Union. We're still friends. But my concern is for Columbia County. We have not had a voice in District 5 in quite some time, and we haven't had a tough enough voice in this county. When industrial development is looking at coming to Columbia County, they look at all the situations that's arose. You pick up the newspaper today, you got a man over there fixing to drop $30 million out here at our new racing site. And then they see all this turmoil. You know, we can't even protect the budget. We can't do this. It's ludicrous to think that we're living here in 2016 and we can't represent Columbia County any better than we can. Give me an opportunity to serve you. I'll show you a different style of government. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Coker, next question is for you. Ma'am, if elected, what would be your first undertaking, the first major project you'd try to get passed?
My first major undertaking would be a budget workshop. We need to take a look at the budget. We need to sit with department heads, and we need to assess where we have waste, where we have opportunity to reduce spending. The citizens across the board are concerned about taxes. They're concerned about taxes. They're concerned about, and they've been extremely public about the spending being out of control of the commission. So my immediate undertaking would be to take a look at the budget, to see where there is an opportunity. The county manager identified several concerns in the 2016 budget that have not been addressed, and we're not going to be in a better place without assessing where we are financially and identifying opportunities to reduce costs, to cut spending, to prioritize our projects differently. I have attended county and various municipality meetings over the past 7 years, and I noticed that there are some traditions that could stand to be changed. When new elected officials come into office, they don't immediately take on a review of the budget. They sort of jump in and start working from where the prior person or incumbent took off. I don't believe that's the best way to go. Department heads in large corporations, when management changes, the first thing they do is they come in and they take a look at the budget. They assess their financial situation, and that's no different with running the county. First thing I do is come in and assess where we are. What are we working on across the board? What are the needs in District 5? And how have we prioritized the projects that we're working on?
Thank you, ma'am. Next question for Commissioner Fresina. Mrs. Fresina, are there any major votes you've cast, say during the last term, that in hindsight you might cast differently today?
I think when you look back over time, there are always things that you think, if I might would have done that a little bit differently, said something a little different. But there is no vote that I can think of off the top of my head that I would change. I take every vote, every meeting, every situation that I am faced with as a county commissioner, and I put a lot of thought and a lot of time, a lot of study into it, and I pray about it. And when I still have an uneasy feeling or I still have a concern about it, I call constituents in my district and I visit with them and I ask their opinion and their advice on what they think I should be doing, what their feelings are on a particular issue. So I feel like I always make the best decision possible with the information given, and I do my very best each and every time to represent my constituents to the best of my ability.
Thank you, ma'am. Final question of this segment for Mr. Green. Sir, what do you see as the role of sports in economic development?
As far as sports go in economic development, I would say, getting back on our teens and our families here in Columbia County, there's not enough to bring our families together here. We have church, we have maybe a movie theater, we have a bowling alley, different things like that. But sports, I want to see my kids get in sports. I have a daughter, she's 4 years old, and she loves to play basketball and different things like that. And without these kind of, outdoor activities, there wouldn't be much for our youth to do. So when it comes to the sports here in Columbia County, I think we really need to focus on those things and kind of, invest in our infrastructure for our sports. And I know we have a couple of places to play tennis and different things like that. But really we need to focus on what can bring our families together here in Columbia County.
Thank you, candidates. That concludes our question and answer segment. When we have as many candidates as we do, we don't get as many questions. It's time now for each candidate to make a 2-minute closing statement. And since candidate Green went first, he will go last. Candidate Murphy, you have the opportunity to make your closing statement to the voters of Columbia County.
Hello, and thank you again, Florida Gateway College and all involved in putting this forum on tonight. I just want to say to you, the voters, the constituents of Columbia County, this is a very vital time, I feel like, in county government. Please pay attention. I'm there at your leisure anytime. Any questions that you may have, I can answer them. I can step into this job and go to work tomorrow and be effective. As I spoke here last week, the budget, they all want to claim that this is a complex deal. It is not. It is a very simple budget. It's simple. You don't spend more than you take in. You've got to prioritize all the situations facing the county. Number one, as I stated before, I am 100% number one priority is going to be public safety. My second priority is naturally going to be the youth of this community, and number 3 is going to be the elderly. The statistics tell the proof. Right here in Columbia County, we put our elderly on the back burner. When I'm serving you as your county commissioner, that's not going to happen. But what I will say, we will have a format, we will stick to it. There's not, commissioners are out of touch with other commissioners. Yeah, you know, we've got the issue with all this millings that we just ended up with. I spoke with 2 other commissioners, not Bucky Nash, and they didn't even know this material was available. This is your tax dollars that is 100% not being looked after. We've got safety issues in District 5, Old Country Club Road. We've got a major safety issue right there. Culverts collapsing. They go out there and they put a little bit of patch on it. This is your family's lives that are at stake. Come August 30th, give me the opportunity to serve you and prove myself to you. I will make you proud as a voter, and just give me the opportunity to serve you, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Ms. Coker, it's your turn to make a 2-minute closing statement.
Again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Fortunately, I have been serving Columbia County, not off of a slush fund, not off of any additional funds other than what has come into a small nonprofit organization, and I'm proud of it. If I hadn't spent the prior 7 years working with a very small budget in comparison to what is accessible here, then I wouldn't be sitting before you telling you what I'm capable of doing, what we're capable of doing. We're capable of doing a lot more than we have been doing with the funds we have here in Columbia County. We can live better. We can make it as great as we want it to be. It's going to take a lot of work. This isn't an easy endeavor, contrary to what anyone's going to tell you. Commissioners are one individual. They represent a whole constituent averaging 5,000 to 7,000 voters. So you do have to put a degree of trust in the person's background and ability to be able to convey what the needs are for each individual constituent in such a way that it meshes, that there's coherency with what's better for the county. Commissioners do serve constituents, but we're serving constituents trying to create the best Columbia County we can. So while each of the constituents, their ideas, their needs are important, we have to stay focused on the big picture. And that big picture is, how do we make Columbia County the greatest county that it can be, utilizing the resources that we have. And I believe what I've demonstrated over the prior 7 years is that I have the ability to do that. I've done that, and I'm going to continue to do it whether I sit in the commission seat or not. I'm asking you to give me an opportunity to serve you so that you have the diversity and the benefit of what education, experience, and servitude could mean for you. Thank you very much, and come August 20th, if you haven't already received your vote by mails, there's only one choice to make. Be faithful for 4 years.
Thank you very much. And a closing comment from Scarlett Fresina.
In closing tonight, I want you to know that I understand these economic times we've been living through, they have been tough. Living on a small farm and owning a small business with my husband, I understand as well as anyone the struggles that each of you face every day, because they're the same for us. As owners of a small business, you have to work hard each day to mind every move and to stretch every dollar. In a similar way, county government does require business knowledge, common sense, and the ability to listen and learn. I have used these qualities over the past 7.5 years, and I am the only candidate that has the experience needed to continue to lead Columbia County. I know that our community is very important to each one of you, just like it is to me. I am your full-time county commissioner, and I take the responsibility of being your representative very seriously. I want you to know this evening that my heart continues to be in the right place and that I truly want what is best for our community. With God's help and with your input and support, we can continue to steer our community in the right direction. And I will continue to strive to help Columbia County to be the best. Once again, I thank you for this opportunity to be able to talk with you tonight. Early voting starts on Saturday, August the 20th, so whether you go then or you wait and go August 30th on Election Day, either way, remember to vote for Scarlett. I look forward to continuing to work with you as your District 5 County Commissioner. Thank you, God bless you, and have a great night.
Thank you, and our final closing comment comes from candidate Kyle Green. Kyle, you have 2 minutes.
I'd like to thank you all for tuning in this evening. A lot of my friends and family are watching this evening. You know, I'm not a public speaker. I'm not your normal politician. I'm not here this evening. I'm not reading from papers to kind of try to sell myself to you. I'm here this evening speaking from the heart and to let you know that I'm an honest person. I'm here this evening to let you know that there's another choice for a county commissioner out there. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to go out in the community and make a difference. You know, my prior past track record should prove that. I mean, you know, again, like I said, I'll do anything I can to make sure these people of Columbia County, the great people of this great county that my ancestors helped build, I will make sure that we listen to you, that we get these issues that you've been facing all this time that have been ignored. I'll make sure we get these issues resolved for you. You know, being so young, 23 years old, one of the main reasons I'm running is to kind of show other people my age, you know, even though you're young, you can still make a difference in your community. A lot of people go out and they complain about the way things are. They complain about some of the different rules and regulations we have in our city and our county. But yet, what do they do to go out there and change those? What do they do to go out there and take a stand and make a difference? So to close this evening, I'd like to call out all the people my age, all the young people. I'd like to ask you to stand up and run for public office. Stand up and try to make a difference. And, you know, I'd like to also end by, you know, saying on August 30th, vote for Kyle Green. Help me break barriers and build futures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates, and that concludes the second segment of our candidate forum. When we come back on Florida Gateway College Television, we'll meet the candidates for Lake City Council District 12. You're watching Florida Gateway College Television. Don't go away. Okay, you can shake hands if you like. Hold up, don't move. Wait. Don't move. Still up.
A tree house in the sky, but he's ignoring the instructions. Good luck, big guy. His kids know that he's building without a clue. Never been so good with nails and glue. Now we're trapped inside a box. I hope mom knows what to do. Mom! See, you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Look at me. Hey.
Raymond, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry.
Maybe he can't hear us.
Maybe we're not stimulating him enough. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
I like to consider FGC as my first grand campus. I never thought I was going to go back to school or have the time to go back to school. Now my son, 12 years old, is looking at daddy after so many years, grabbing his books and going to school. And he's so proud. And I'm teaching him that you continue, my son, and you do what you have to. But be a man of your word and finish what you start.
Start your journey today at Florida Gateway College.
Welcome back to Candidate Forum, the third segment of our program. I'm Mike McKee, the Executive Director of Media and Public Information here at Florida Gateway College and a member of the Board of Directors of the Chamber of Commerce. Tonight's forum is a joint production of the Chamber, the Lake City Reporter, and Florida Gateway College. Let's now meet the two candidates for Lake City Council District 12. We have with us the incumbent, Zach Pauk, and challenger, Jake Hill. We drew numbers prior to coming into the studio, and candidate Hill, you're in the number 1 seat. You have a chance to make a 2-minute opening statement to the constituents of District 12.
Good evening. I'm Jake Hill Jr., married to Deborah Hill for 28 years. I have 2 kids, Jakeem and Debriah Hill, self-employed for 20 plus years. And I'm running for City Council District 12 because I want to try to make a difference. Just like I said, just want to make a difference in the community on how your tax dollars are spent. I want to be a voice for the community, and again, I'm like seeking the seat of District 12 again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now time for a 2-minute opening statement from candidate Zach Pauk, who is also the incumbent in District 12. Mr. Pauk.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber, Florida Gateway College, and the Lake City Reporter for putting on this event for us tonight. My name is Zach Pauk, City Councilman for District 12, married to Jacana Pauk. We have 2 kids, Zach Jr. and Ziri Pauk. I'm seeking re-election because we have a lot of great things going on within the city. My first term, we was able to get a lot of projects accomplished through street paving, adding gas lines, water main lines, improving the infrastructure in District 12. Also, improving infrastructure out there at the airport that in turn created some jobs for HACO. We continue to expand and build upon that. And so I'm asking for re-election. I still have some projects that we need to complete, and I'd just like to make sure I get them done.
Thank you very much, candidates. Now time for the question and answer segment of the broadcast. And to ask the questions tonight, as he has all evening long, the editor of the Lake City Reporter, Robert Bridges. Robert?
Thanks, Mike. Mr. Hill, we'll start with you. Sir, you held this seat before Mr. Pauk did, from 2008 to 2012, and during that time you expressed sharp criticism of Police Chief Argatha Gilmore. At a critical moment during that first term, though, you went along with your fellow council members in giving her a vote of confidence. During the current campaign, you are once again claiming that she is doing a poor job. What exactly are your feelings about the Chief of Police in Lake City?
Well, personally, I feel like Lake City is not that big a place for where you can't walk in off the street to see your chief of police. At any given time, if you try to go to the police department to visit the chief, you have to make an appointment. I know back in the past, all the chief of police, if you wanted to find the chief of police, you could find him at the police station. But our chief now is never here, so I think that she's not doing Lake City justice for her job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pauk, the people who live around Gwynn Lake have grown frustrated over the last few years with setbacks and general lack of success on this project. What can you say to assure them the lake will someday be returned to its original state, or at least something close to it?
As a matter of fact, we're currently in the process of approving to go in and dredge Gwynn Lake as we speak. It should be completed within the next 4 to 5 weeks. And at that time, upon completion, we'll be putting out an RFP, trying to get some proposals to rebuild the levee. And so all the issues with the lake, pertaining to the lake, I know, and I appreciate the citizens around Gwynn Lake for being patient, but we finally have the money to be able to go in and fix that lake once and for all.
Thank you, sir. We'll stay with you for the next question. Since the city is now paying for testing under the backflow prevention program, why do we still need a middleman from Michigan to run it?
On the backflow program, we have to make sure that we are in compliance. I know that we're doing everything to make sure that we stay in compliance. If that means through all the testing, making sure we're dotting all the I's and crossing the T's. And it's mandated by the state that we stay in compliance. So it wasn't an expense to the citizens of Lake City. The city took care of the expenses involved in it, and will continue to do so.
All right. Mr. Hill, Mr. Hill, you're on record as saying you oppose moving City Hall into the Blanche Hotel once renovations are complete. You suggest it's foolish to move from a building we own to one we're going to have to pay rent on. Now, city officials say they can lease out or sell the current City Hall building to offset the difference. Have you looked at those numbers, and do they add up in your estimation?
Well, I've done some checking, matter of fact, just today. I spoke with a gentleman that works for the county. There's no record, nowhere on paper, that the county is interested in leasing that building from the city. And again, you know, that's a waste of taxpayers' dollars to move out of a building that you own to move across the street to somewhere you're going to be paying rent. So again, I say that is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. Thank you.
All right, sir. We'll stay with you, Mr. Hill, for the next question. Mr. Hill, if you are elected, what would you do differently this time than during your previous term in office?
Well, I think I had a pretty good track record of when I was in office before. If a citizen had a problem, they would call City Hall. The city clerk would again get in touch with me. If the person left a phone number or some type of way to get in contact with them, I went to see them. I called them, and then I went out to see them to let them know who their council person was, you know, and I tried to assist them in the problem that they had.
Okay. Mr. Pauk, the city may soon face some financial hardship as it looks for ways to pay for the Blanche Hotel project, yet still give employees pay raises. City officials have said it is possible the workforce might have to be trimmed through attrition, not layoffs, we're told, or a stormwater assessment fee imposed. Do you see it coming to that?
Could you repeat that question, Robert?
Yes, sir. The city is going to have to pay for the Blanche Hotel one way or the other, and they still want to give the employees pay raises. They've said they might have to trim the workforce. Now they've said it will be through attrition, not layoffs. Or they said they might have to impose a stormwater assessment fee. Do you think it's going to come to that, or is there another way?
Well, you know, regarding the Blanche, you know, the Blanche is a part of the CRA master plan. And, you know, IDP, the developers, you know, they come to the table with $6 million. We're getting $7 million in, you know, historic tax credits. And so the city is only having to be responsible for $1 million. With that being said, to offset the cost of the $1 million, we do have people that, you know, that have expressed interest in the current building that we're in. And so you have to look at, okay, as we continue to grow, as this city is growing, we're talking about moving into a building for the next 50 years. So to offset the cost of the Blanche, that would be fine. Now, the Evergreen study that we're talking about, the Evergreen study was done to kind of do a comparable to what our positions play versus other municipalities in other counties. There are a lot of variables in that Evergreen study that we have to factor in because, you know, our taxes may not be the same as their taxes. Their benefits may not be the same as our benefits. Our millage rate may be lower than their millage rate, which in turn may show that make our associates look like they're underpaid. So therefore, we have to make sure that we take we have to be very careful how we approach that, and we also have to make sure that we do balance the budget to make sure that, you know, if we have the opportunity to be able to give a raise and kind of get in line to where we are, if we are out of line because we haven't had the opportunity to look at the results yet, then we'll make that call. As far as the stormwater user fee, we continue to look for ways to improve our stormwater. There has not been any discussion as far as we're going to vote whether we're going to approve a stormwater user fee at this time. I know it came up in the past. It was voted down at that time, but we don't know what the future holds for us.
Thank you, sir. We'll stay with you for the next question. Lake City Gateway Airport is a gem. It's an absolute gem by any measure. What can be done to make it to make better and more extensive use of this facility?
The Lake City Airport, we have a lot going on at our airport right now. I just come back from the airport conference down in Bonita Springs, and you know, when I go off and I travel for the city, I take my job seriously. So I'm out there networking and trying to find different ways to improve our infrastructure here at our airport from a technology standpoint, making sure that we have all the upgrades, lighting and everything. So therefore, as we continue to build upon, what we already have in place, it'll create jobs. We've already expanded Taxiway A. Now we're working on Taxiway B. It's already created 400 jobs for us. We're also looking at the improved 2 hangars. And so as we continue to, once we get those approved, then who knows how many more jobs will be created from just improving those 2 hangars.
Okay, Mr. Hill, next question for you. What has Mr. Polk done or not done to merit losing, to merit losing his seat?
Well, like I said, I've talked with Mr. Polk maybe twice since he's been in office. To me, he has done nothing really from where I stand. But again, like I said, it's nothing personal against Zach. I think he's a nice guy. But in me trying to seek re-election, I've went around knocking door to door, asking for a vote. And everybody that I've talked with says that, ask who is he, where he come from or whatever. I said, well, I don't know. I'm seeking office. I'm asking for a vote. So I really can't say I've seen Mr. Polk really do anything. Well, he's done, I'll say this. He's been instrumental with the kids. I'll give him that. He's really instrumental with the kids. And that's basically about it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll stay with you, Mr. Hill, for the next question. You've expressed concerns over city garbage collection services. Can you please elaborate on that?
Again, I had an issue. Well, I still have an issue with the garbage pickup. I spoke with Mr. Polk about that, and to no avail. My garbage the trash is still there. My thing is, when I spoke with Mr. Polk about the garbage pickup, he got with the city manager, and I guess they came out and checked out what my problem was. And they made the statement that I could go and I could make a phone call and get it picked up. But the thing is, I could have made a phone call to get it picked up, but what about Mrs. Jones or Mr. Jones that got the same problem that can't make that phone call? They're paying for that service, but they're not getting it. And I got a problem with that. So that's the problem I have with the garbage pickup. And I think, and I feel like that if I'm paying for a service, I need to get my service that I'm paying for. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Polk, are there any major votes you've cast during your last term that, in hindsight, you might cast differently today?
No, I can't think of any right now. I'm pretty much spot on, and I'm confident in each vote. In each situation that comes up, and I know that I've been outvoted on the council before. It's no hard feeling. When I walk through those doors, I'm representing the people of District 12, and so therefore I'm trying to vote to the best interest of District 12. And so sometimes it may roll in my favor, and sometimes it may not. But there's no animosity.
Okay, Mr. Polk, we'll stay with you. This will be the last question for you of the evening. Employers express concern over the readiness of the local workforce, the readiness, the willingness, and the ability of the local workforce to take on the kind of jobs we're trying to recruit for Lake City. Be that as it may, what's the role of the City Council in addressing this problem?
Well, it's funny that you asked that. I was just discussing with the city manager and, during evaluation time that, we need to see what kind of programs we can implement to make sure that we try to get our workforce prepared for these jobs, because we don't know what the job's going to require when they come here. So therefore, once we identify, what kind of jobs, what skill sets are needed, then we need to see what kind of programs, what kind of training that we can get our associates, and to make sure that we do acquire those skills and be able to fulfill those jobs when the time being.
Thank you. Last question of this segment, Mr. Hill. Assuming we have a ready, willing, and able workforce, how do we get those jobs here to begin with? How do we get decent paying jobs in Lake City, something people can actually raise a family on?
I think you would start with the workforce. that would be a start. Again, you know, if we would seek for different type of businesses to come to Lake City. And I think, you know, that if we get, you know, somebody interested in coming to Columbia County, Lake City, we will offer them some incentives for them to come. Thank you.
And that concludes the question and answer portion of this segment. It's time now for each candidate to make a 2-minute closing statement. And since candidate Hill went first, he will go last. Zach Paulk, the incumbent, will now make a 2-minute close to the constituents in District 12.
Okay, again, thank you, Florida Gateway College, Chamber of Commerce, and Lake City Reporter for doing this, hosting the candidate forum for us. You know, the concern that some of the things that I've been hearing is, you know, people don't know me, I'm not around. But I tell you, you know, on Thursdays when I ride around with the city manager and I'm looking through the district, taking a proactive approach to make sure that I take care of issues before so people don't have to call, I think is the right way to do business. Now, you can't spend $3.2 million in the district and do all the projects that I've done and completed by not being around in your district. Yes, I'm instrumental with the kids. I love the kids. I'm always looking to, you know, improve the programs, provide programs for the kids, teaching the kids. That's one of my pet peeves. That will always be. I have kids here growing up in Lake City. I want to make this city good, not only for my kids, but for everybody else's kids. But I have been out there in the district. I have been walking around. Now, I apologize if some people have not seen me, but I can't, it's hard to get to every house. But I tell you, for the most part, you know, my work speaks for itself. Look at the facts, do the comparison. Now you've had the opportunity to look and see what both candidates can bring to the table. And, you know, I feel as though my record should speak for itself. And therefore, I'm asking for another opportunity to finish the job. You know, first term, there's a lot to learn. I learned it real fast. I'm a fast learner. I negotiate really well. I build good relationship, good rapport with other council members. And the best is yet to come. August 30th, vote for progress. Vote Zach Paulk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paulk. And our challenger, Jake Hill, has now 2 minutes to make a closing statement to his constituents in District 4, or 12, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm asking for another chance at District 12. I want to be your voice. If you give me the chance to be your voice, you will have a council that you can call at any given time to come to see what your problem is. And again, if you give me the chance, once again, to be the City Council of District 12, you won't regret it. So on August the 30th, vote Jake Hill Jr., District 12 City Council.
Thank you very much, candidates. And that concludes the third segment of our Candidate Forum program. When we come back on Florida Gateway College Television, we'll meet the candidates for Lake City Mayor. You're watching FGC TV and a simulcast broadcast on Power Country 102 FM. Don't go away.
Your day starts before your feet touch the floor. You listen and encourage, plan and schedule, and work hard for the ones you love. You inspire creativity, help with homework, and somehow still find time to do your own. You are an example every day, investing in her future and yours. Florida Gateway College. Start here, go anywhere.
You taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to the fourth segment of Candidate Forum 2016. This one involves the race for the mayor of the city of Lake City. We have with us incumbent Mayor Steve Witt and challenger Audrey Washington. We drew numbers prior to coming into the studio, and candidate Washington drew the number 1. You're in the hot seat now. You have 2 minutes to make an opening statement to the constituents of the city of Lake City.
Good evening, Lake City and Lake City Community College, as well as our chamber and Mr. Robert Bridges and the Lake City Reporter for having this forum. I am excited as well as humbled and honored to be a candidate for your mayor of Lake City, Florida. I bring to you over 50 years of nativity here. I'm a 5th generation descendant of Lake City, and I'm proud to be a candidate for your mayor. I have 3 daughters and 6 grandchildren who all but 2 reside in this community. We all are graduates of Columbia High School and have continued education in various colleges throughout the state. But my main concern with the city of Lake City is just to bring our people closer together and have a voice for our community to make sure that their voice is heard. I appreciate the leadership of our current mayor, Mr. Stephen Witt, and all the things that they have done, the council. I just want to bring a new direction, new strategies, new perspectives, even a new vision. So I'm excited about the race, and I'm ready to begin the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Witt, you now have 2 minutes to address the entire constituents of the city of Lake City.
Good evening, and I also want to thank the Chamber and the Lake City Reporter and Florida Gateway College for putting on this event and giving us an opportunity to come before our constituents and tell everybody what we've done and what we intend to do. I am Stephen Witt. I'm your current mayor. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve for the last 11 years, since 2005, as the mayor of the city of Lake City. Prior to being the mayor, I served as chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board for 13 years. I graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in accounting. That degree is invaluable in my business practice. It's also invaluable in running our community in the city. After accounting school, I went to law school. I got a degree in law, and I've been in law practice for 39 years this month. I'm married to Jody Witt. Together we have 4 children, 5 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. The reason I'm running for re-election is because I think in the last 11 years we've made a lot of progress. The city's in good shape. We've done a lot of good things, but there's a lot of things that we got projects that are going on that I want to see finished and continued on. We have a great community. Everybody's working together, the city, the private industries, to make this a better community. We've got to advance our infrastructure that we've been working on for the last 11 years and got projects going. So I want to be your mayor for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for the question and answer segment of the broadcast. And to ask the questions, as he has all night, is the editor of the Lake City Reporter, Robert Bridges. Robert?
Thanks, Mike. Mrs. Washington, we begin with you. Ma'am, you stated that Mr. Witt hasn't actually done anything objectionable or wrong during his tenure as mayor. Quote, I don't see him with any shortcomings, end quote, you said in Sunday's Lake City Reporter. Of all the issues that have come before the council during the 11 years he's been in office, are there any important matters you think could have, should have been handled differently?
Certainly, all of us can look back on various things that we've done, many decisions maybe that we've made that we want to go back on. But I really cannot think of anything other than when we think about what we're passionate about, we have to respect that, what that person will do. One of the things that I want to bring when we talk about, I would never talk about a person's shortcomings because certainly I have them as well. But one of the things that I want to bring to the mayorship is a voice of the people and the constituency. allowing them to have a voice in what it is that we're doing. There are many things that are assets to our community, and there are many things that are declining in our community. And I just want to be a new voice. I want to be a person that comes in and has the heart of the people at hand. And I do have my finger on the pulse of the community, and I know many of them who are out there, we're thinking some of the same things. And certainly I don't think that I'm going to be the one that's going to be the best or the worst in anything, but I want to bring what it is that I bring. I'm not concerned so much about what Mayor Witt has or has not done. I believe his heart is pure as well as mine. So I don't even want to get into the part of what we're thinking that he's and has any shortcomings. I just want to bring what I'm going to bring to the table, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question for Mayor Witt. Mayor, are city residents going to see a tax hike next year?
Well, the problem, and this will be my 12th budget, and the system makes you put in a proposed millage rate before you ever look at the budget. And the system works to where you have to give a proposed rate, and then you've set the budget. You can't go higher than what you proposed, but you can always come down. This time we have proposed a slight increase in case we need to match what we need to operate the business. The city's got to run on what they have and what they bring in. We're not like the federal government that can just write checks. So we've got to pay the bills. And one thing we've tried to do, and I think one thing that the city has done great during the last few years, is during the bad economic times, we were very creative in refinancing bonds and doing some things that we even were able to pave streets during hard times. But we're still coming through where property taxes are actually, property values are down. State revenues have not came up. There's a lot of growth in our state and in our community, but it's not on the tax rolls yet. So we're working on the budget tomorrow night and Thursday night and possibly next week, and the budget won't be final till probably in September, so we haven't got a final decision yet.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll stick with you for the next question. Since the city is now paying for testing under the backflow prevention program, since the city's paying for the testing anyway, why do we still need a company from Michigan to administer it for us?
Well, it's like a lot of other programs the city does. Some things we do in-house, some things we farm out to groups that we think can maybe do it better, or they have better resources or personnel, or we overextend our own personnel to where we might have to hire more people to do that. We came out with this program that's not something the city's doing on its own. It's something that the government's requiring us to do, and they're very strict on the backflow for businesses and the people that have to have these backflow systems. So it's something that's mandated not just for us, but everybody. And we've made some changes in it. We're trying to fine-tune it. We've found that maybe we could try to not charge the people for the testing and all, but right now we're going to try to do it with that company. If not, then we're going to look at other options.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Washington, you say you want to bring a quote, a new voice to city politics. How does that translate very specifically into city policy?
For one thing, being out in the community, being at various functions, doing the things that I've done over the past 30 plus years, I hear the constituency talking about what it is that they think that the city needs to do and what we need to do. A lot of times people aren't as open and vocal to come to our council meetings and voice their opinions. Therefore, I think I will bring that compassion and that type of attitude to the office, where it will be an openness there where everybody will have an opportunity to voice what it is they want to do. And I will be the person that will hear that voice. A lot of times there are things that are going on within the community that they're not aware of what we're doing in the city. They don't have cable television or TV to see when different meetings are going on. They don't have computers. They don't have anything like that. So I want to bring in, not along just with myself, but there'll be other people who will be attached to me, as well as the council, that will get out to those people to let them know what's going on. One of the things that happened during our the last hurricane that we had here, there was money available for some of the homeowners. They were not aware of that, but it was certain people that went around within the community and made sure that those people were taken care of. And just want to bring that comfort as well as the love to the community through that, through my voice and their voice connected together.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll stick with you for the next question. What are your views on economic incentives for businesses that want to locate or relocate to Lake City?
One of the things we're probably going to have to do is to reform some of the policies we have, give various incentives. I'm a green person. There are many businesses that are out there now that do the green building strategies. We have to make sure, especially I look at building on our assets, what we have now. We have our lakes, we have our downtown area, we have Main Street, but those things are declining, and we want to make sure that when we get those people, if I want to get those people here, I'm going to have to hear the voices of some of the people in the chamber who have businesses and see what it is that they would like to see, along with consultants that may come to our area. There are many businesses throughout the country that are apt in relocating to smaller towns, and we need to tap into those people and as well as give them some type of incentive to come here. Not only those businesses, but even entrepreneurship. We have many young people who want to start their own businesses, so we want to make sure that we can give them those incentives as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor, next question for you. The city may soon face some financial hardship as it looks for ways not just to finance the Blanche Hotel restoration, but the cost of housing City Hall there. Especially if you want to give raises to employees, as has been indicated, might be in the works. City officials have said it's possible the workforce might have to be trimmed through attrition, not layoffs, or a stormwater assessment fee imposed. Do you think it'll come to that?
Well, like I was saying earlier, we're looking at the economy is going to keep increasing, and our tax base is going to keep increasing, so we're going to have the revenues to meet the demands. The Blanche Hotel was probably the toughest decision I've made since I've been in office. It was something that we didn't do overnight. It's something that we found out that a lot of people were saying, well, let private business do it. Well, we found out that was not going to happen. So this group, well, there are several groups that made proposals before that didn't work out. This group from Valdosta came in, and this is a public-private partnership. A lot of the project is a $16 million project that we're putting $1 million into. They're getting $7 to $9 million in federal tax credits because of it being historic and rural. So that's a huge part of making this thing work. We're going to have residences there. There's going to be office buildings. There's going to be room for events. There's a lot going on downtown. We have Marion Street that's just came in and invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've got Hal Patter that's coming in and investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in downtown. These are people that see the future of downtown Lake City. I was in Gainesville, as I said, when I was in school, and I worked downtown between accounting school and law school, and I seen what the downtown of Gainesville was back at that time. You go over there now and you see how vibrant the downtown is with nightlife and businesses downtown. The downtown would not be the same without the Blanche Hotel. I think it was just something that was a time we had to do it, and it couldn't be delayed or it wouldn't have been there. So it was something we had to do.
Thank you. We'll stick with you, Mayor, for the next question. The Lake City Gateway Airport is just a beautiful. It's just a gem by any measure. I think most people would agree with that. What can we do to make better and more extensive use of this facility?
We have been very fortunate at the Lake City Airport. We've just done a $7 million taxiway project, which has improved the airport immensely. HACO has been a great partner in this. They've got 700 employees, and I believe they're fixing to add another 400 on there. They're partnering with the school system to do training programs for students there. The Plum Creek project, or the new owners of it, as you know, that's doing the racing site, You know, I think when businesses start coming in there, the airport's going to be a big part of that. One of the big developments of Lake City is based around that we have 2 interstates, we have 2 rails, and we have an airport here. So we've got the assets, and what we got to do as a city is keep improving it to where it is up to the standards that the businesses will need. Going back, I didn't mention the stormwater my last time. Stormwater is an issue, and it came up back in the hard times, and we set up a program to do it, but we didn't fund it because businesses were having a hard time and we were getting into that. That's something down the road we're going to have to look hard at, is how to do stormwater. It's one of those things where if you're on high land and it's not a problem, you don't see why you need to fund those type of things. If you're in low lands and you get flooded pretty regular, you're asking the government to make that better. As far as employees, we've done a rate study. That's a guide, and we are looking at, you know, what are we doing with our employees compared to different areas. And it's not anything that's etched in stone. It's just a guide. We got to balance the budget, so we can't give raises that we can't afford. We can't do a lot of things we can't afford. So it's just a matter of being as wise with the money as we can and keeping our employees satisfied and paid up to what they should be.
Next question for Mrs. Washington. Ma'am, please, are there any city departments that are not performing satisfactorily, adequately, that need to improve?
Why don't you ask that, Robert? I was just in a meeting with, I won't call any names, but I was in a meeting with a local pastor who was trying to remodel their church. She had asked me to come to that meeting with her just to get some insight on the things that were going on. I encouraged her to go in and talk because I really felt like it would be a professional meeting. Many of the things that are going on in City Hall, the upper level management may not be aware of the attitudes and the professionalism of some of their workers and leaders. Just to make a long story short, I would say that our code enforcement area leaves a little to be desired in terms of really getting the information out to our residents and what it is that they need to do to make sure that they comply to those rules and regulations concerning code enforcement. I was a witness to the most unprofessional conversation that I've ever been involved with. He was not aware of who I was in terms of I'm nobody but Audrey, but I worked there, and I made that known that he was very unprofessional. She was in tears before she left, along with another one of the young women who was a local realtor. She was in tears as well to the horrific customer service that was given to her. That's just a personal observation. As a whole, the city of Lake City, City Hall is probably one of the best organized city halls in Florida. I love it. I love the camaraderie. I love the compassion of the employees, and I love what they do, and they do an awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll stick with you for the next question. So, if you were elected, what would be your first major undertaking, the first project you would take on?
I will be selfish in this because it's something that I've been involved with since 1993. I don't know if people are aware of the homeless situation in our community. We have a local soup kitchen that is a ministry of my church that has feeding over 300 people a day. Since the summertime, we have probably hundreds of children who come in because parents cannot afford lunches. They are not living in homes. We did have shelters that were available. They were too expensive to upkeep. So one of the things I would like to do is bring the community together to see what type of problem that we're having with our homelessness. They're sleeping on the streets. Many of them are single mothers with children living in their cars. You can even see it within our school system. If you ask Mr. Huddleston about the homeless population within our school system, it's an issue that really needs to be addressed. It's an issue that we can work together to make it happen. There are a lot of city-owned buildings that are within our community, and those homes can be remodeled into some type of shelter. That is something that I'm very, very passionate about. And statistically, we have found that over 80% of those people who are homeless are veterans. And so it's really just mind-boggling to see what's going on in our community and the homelessness population. So that, among many others, will be some of the first things that I would do. But because it is one of my very, very best passions that I have for those who are less fortunate than us, that the homelessness situation in this community is rising and it is not getting better. So that would be one of the things that I would try to help to bring to fruition.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor, what is your view of economic incentives? Is it appropriate to offer economic incentives such as tax abatement for retail developments that generally offer relatively low-paying jobs?
Well, tax incentives and incentives for businesses is a thing of the way of life in the business industry now. Everybody speaks that they want to see more jobs in our community and better businesses in our community, and it's a competitive process. Lake City, Columbia County, and our community's got to work hard to get the right businesses in here, such as Target and U.S. Cold Storage. Usually, most of those tax incentives are given to industries. Recently, we worked on a project with the old Kmart Plaza where we gave some incentives, but that was for the developer because that property had major sinkhole problems, and the company went in and did testing and found out how they could redo it and make it feasible. We've worked with the people that have developing the old Holiday Inn property out there, and there's many businesses going in there. Incentives for retail is not as common, and it used to not even be done, but apparently now it's being done sometimes. I think you have to look very hard at doing that type of thing. I think for industries and for developments overall, I think it's a good project. I'm more reluctant to do it in the retail industry.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll stick with you for your last question of the evening. So how do we go about bringing the better paying jobs here?
People always say that's a good question, but it really is. To get the better jobs in here, we've got to have the community that they want to come to. We can have a great city government and we can do our job, and that's not necessarily going to bring people in here. The county's got to do a good job and work to bring people in here. Our school system has to be attractive. If you don't have a good school system, people are not coming. If you don't have infrastructure, because infrastructure that we've done an expansion on our wastewater plant right now, we're in the process of doing that. We redid the water plan out there when I first got elected, so we got water in more areas and better quality water. And having those type of things, it's a community effort, it's a joint thing. We are fortunate in North Florida that I used to say, why do people come to Lake City? Now I go, why don't they? When you're an hour from each coast, when you've got the rivers and springs and things that we need to protect and have the recreation, because people want to come where there's recreation, there's things to do. So to get the good jobs, we have a jewel right here. All we've got to do is fine tune it, better prepare for it, and do what we need to do to bring them in and be competitive. But I think we got an advantage over most places because of what we do have here.
Last question of this segment, Mrs. Washington. You said in an interview in Sunday's Lake City Reporter that while you see the value of restoring the Blanche, it wouldn't have been your top priority had you been in office. Had you been on the council at that time, would you have voted A, to restore the Blanche, and B, would you have voted in addition to move City Hall into the Blanche?
I'd have to honestly say, without all of the information that I have that I would need in front of me, but personally, that would not have been something that I would vote for at that particular time. One of my first priorities would have been looking at the overall picture of our employees and when is the last time they might have had a raise and that type of thing. I would never have put an emphasis on that structure. The Blanche Hotel is very, very dear to my heart. I can remember my grandfather walking downtown, and I've been in it. It is definitely of the most significance in historical preservation. But at this particular juncture in our city government, I don't think that I would have voted for us to move from where we are to there at that particular time. I just think maybe it was a heartfelt, admirable thing that the council was thinking about doing, not really looking at the overall picture of the finances. I'm thinking that was $14 million maybe that was being spent on it. Am I for historically preserving the Blanche? I would be the number one person to do that. But at that particular juncture in the council, I would not have voted for that at that particular time.
Thank you very much, and that concludes the question and answer portion of this segment. It's time now for each candidate to make a 2-minute closing statement, and since candidate Washington went first, she will go last. Candidate Witt, you have 2 minutes to make a closing statement to the constituents in the city of Lake City.
Again, thank you for having this forum and allowing us to come before the people of Lake City and Columbia County and stating our positions. As I said, I feel like I've qualified to be your mayor for the next 4 years. I have an accounting degree, a law degree. I've got 13 years on the Planning and Zoning Board, 11 years as your mayor. These are tough times, and what we've talked about with taxes, what we've talked about with incentives, what we've talked with pay raises, stormwater, these are tough decisions, and the only way to do it is through being very frugal with people's money. There's not a lot of money out there that people can give up, and you've got to have, the taxes at a reasonable rate, but then you have a lot of needs. So it's something that I think our current city council and our current staff have done a great job over the last few years of increasing our infrastructure, of partnering with businesses to complete projects. There's a lot to be done in the future. There's a lot of work, as everybody recognizes. I think the economy is going to get better. I think things will get better, and we have a great community, and as I just said, it's a place where everybody's going to want to come, and we're fortunate to have it. So again, I'd like to ask for your vote, either in early voting or on August the 30th for Stephen Witt, Mayor of the City of Lake City. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witt. And now Ms. Washington will have an opportunity to make a 2-minute close to this constituents in the city of Lake City. Ms. Washington?
Thank you again for having us here at this forum. Thank you again, Mayor Witt, for what you've done. I'm just waiting on the baton to be passed to me. Again, I want to make sure that Lake City is the best and the greatest city within our state, even this country. In the coming weeks, we will have the task of selecting the new leader, the person that will be the leader of this community, not only the leader, but in the terms of having a voice for our community, the person that has been within the community within the 50+ years, know the hands of the community, have their fingers on the pulse of the community. I have the leadership, I have the know-how, I have the fortitude, I have the heart, and I have the love for this community. And on August 20th of early voting, leave church on that Sunday morning. Don't even go to old times, but go to your polls and vote for Audrey Washington, Mayor of Lake City, Florida. I'm humbled and I'm honored to even be sitting here and just being in a position where I can do what I need to do for this community. But I cannot do it without you. And my motto is, again, community first. To whom much is given, much is required. Thank you.
And thank you very much, candidates, for the mayor of the city of Lake City. This concludes our 4th segment of the program, a long evening here on FGC TV. When we return, we'll have the candidates running for the 3rd Judicial Circuit Court Judge, Group Number 1. We'll be right back.
As a paramedic, you have your own goals and a journey to follow. And that's why Florida Gateway College offers a bridge to success, starting from where you are now.
I wanted more in the medical field. I wanted a steadier pace.
That's why we offer licensed paramedics a way to become a registered nurse in a little over a year.
I love being a nurse. You want to know why? Because I'm making a difference.
Start your journey today at Florida Gateway College.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 Wonders of the World.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Hi, I'm Lexi. And I'm Luke. We're here to introduce you to Florida manatees! Manatees are really, really big. Huge. They can get longer than a car. Ginormous. They can weigh more than a ton. They're shaped like a big grease sausage with flippers. Manatees have big whiskers on their faces, like a cat. And 3 or 4 nails on their flippers. They eat plants. A lot of plants. Because they grease like regular cows but underwater. But you might see one walk up on shore with their flippers to get a snack. I care about Florida manatees.
I care about Florida manatees.
Florida kids care about conservation.
Welcome back to the final segment of Candidate Forum 2016, day number 1. I'm Mike McKee, the Executive Director of Media and Public Information at Florida Gateway College. I am also a member of the Board of Directors of the Lake City Columbia County Chamber of Commerce. Tonight's forum is a joint production of the Chamber, the Lake City Reporter, and Florida Gateway College. We'd also like to thank our sponsors this evening, the Law Office of Thomas Demas and Moe's Southwestern Grill. Let's meet the judge candidates for 3rd Judicial Circuit, Group Number 1. The incumbent is Paul Bryan on the left, and the challenger is Bradley McCray on the right. We drew numbers, and as we have referred to it all night, the hot seat is number 1. Mr. McCray, you have 2 minutes to make an opening statement to the voters of the 3rd Judicial Circuit.
Hello, my name is Brad McCray, and I'm from Lake City, Florida. I'm 49 years old, and I'm the proud father of 3 beautiful teenage daughters, Shelby, Lana, and Aubrey. I've been married to my wife for 22 years. I went to Columbia High School and graduated in 1985. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm a Christian, and I've been an attorney for over an attorney for over 19 years. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my work ethic. I was raised learning hard work. I learned to pull weeds, mowed yards when I was 10 years old, and then I went to doing other things like shoveling asphalt, cropping tobacco, and bagged groceries at Publix for 2 years while I was in high school. And back then, George McKinney was the general manager of the store, and you had to make sure those corners were straight in those paper bags because back then you didn't have plastic. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my legal experience. I've owned and ran a small business for about 20 years. Most of that's been my law practice. Now, you can be the best lawyer, the best dentist, the best plumber, the best farmer in this world, but if you don't know how to run a small business, you're not going to have many clients, many patients, or many customers. You're not going to stay in business long. I practiced all types of law just about. I've done everything from civil, I've done some criminal, probate law, contract law, and I've also done such things as landlord tenant, even done aviation. So I've represented 1,000 plus clients, and so I've gotten to know people in the circuit. I love this area, being a 5th generation North Floridian. It's part of who I am, and I love the people of this circuit. I love the people in Columbia County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for candidate Bryan to make his 2-minute opening statement to the constituents in the 3rd Judicial Circuit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve as your circuit judge for a number of terms. You elected me circuit-wide out of the 7 counties of this circuit a number of terms ago, and I have not actually had an opponent for a number of terms. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you've let me work and serve the community as a judge. Prior to becoming a judge, though, I was a prosecuting attorney for 14 years. I was getting very experienced about all kinds of cases, from theft cases all the way up to first-degree murders and any other type of case. I did over 100 jury trials. I had thousands of cases, went on many crime scenes, and worked up cases from the night or the day that a crime happened all the way through the time that the case was sentenced at the end. That was for 14 years. I then went into private practice and I did every other kind of law other than criminal law. I did a few criminal law cases, but I did all types of others. Landlord-tenant, business disputes, did all types of cases like that. And I wanted to get experience in every area before I became a judge, and I did. Once I became a judge, which I appreciate again, I have had every kind of case. I've been assigned to every type of docket. Family law cases, divorces, child custody, child support, criminal cases, business disputes. Every kind of case you can have in circuit court I have handled, and I've done that for many, many years. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no substitute for experience. There just isn't. Working with people in the court system, helping them through the court system with their problems. When people come to the court system, they usually have a problem. It needs a resolution. I try to make people comfortable. I try to let people know that their case is important. I listen. I make a decision that I believe will be well understood, and then I move on to the next case. I would really appreciate your support in this, my last term as a circuit judge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. It's now time to ask the questions. This is a question and answer segment of the program. To ask the questions is once again Lake City Reporter Editor Robert Bridges. Robert?
Thanks, Mike. Mr. McCray, you've had little experience in criminal matters. That the job you seek would require oversight of criminal trials on a near constant basis. Are you up to the task?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Most of my practice has been in civil litigation. As a lawyer for over 19 and a half years, there's not too many cases that I haven't done. I've gone through a little bit of a laundry list. I have done some criminal cases. I've done DUI. I've done different criminal cases. However, being in a small town, it's hard to be a lawyer without doing a little bit of everything for 19 and a half years. Although most of my practice has been in civil litigation, I've also have experience in criminal law. I've had experience in family law. I've had experience in probate. I've represented people who have been wrongfully killed. I've represented their families. I've represented law enforcement agents, law enforcement officers who have been injured on the job, even killed on the job. So I have experience. There's cases where civil and criminal kind of match over. So there's, for example, if someone was hit by a drunk driver, that drunk driver may have faced criminal penalties, but also there's civil penalties that they might also face. So I've handled cases where I've had to actually go forth and prosecute, I guess, for lack of better words, on the civil side of things. And sometimes that's the only place that people can get justice is in the civil side of the law. So it's nothing that I'll have a problem with as far as criminal law or family law or any other law for that matter. The Florida Supreme Court says that to be a judge, you only have to be an attorney in good standing for 5 years. I've been an attorney in good standing for almost 20 years. I'm licensed to practice in both Florida and I'm licensed to practice law in Georgia as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Judge Bryan, next question for you. You've described certain criticisms directed at you during the campaign as, quote, half-truths and political spin, end quote. One of those criticisms centers on a portion of a report by the State Judicial Qualifications Commission, the people who found Judge Andy Decker guilty of conflict of interest in cases in which he represented you. This is what the JQC had to say about you in that portion of a report in March of last year. Quote, "We would be remiss if we did not mention that we were deeply troubled by the conduct of Circuit Judge Paul Bryan. We received testimony concerning obvious conflict of interest issues involving Judge Bryan and then Attorney Decker. During that time, several court matters were scheduled in front of Judge Bryan with Mr. Decker appearing as counsel. Judge Bryan failed to disclose any conflict of interest to parties who appeared before him. However, this panel is not charged with addressing this matter and therefore shall not comment further," end quote. Sir, is this a half-truth or is it political spin by the JQC?
The only way to answer that question is what you already talked about, and that is that was done in a separate case, not in any case or investigation against me. They even made it very clear that they were not charged with looking into that, and in fact they didn't look into the specifics of each and every one of those allegations. Another panel did, and the way that you know in a Judicial Qualifications Commission proceeding, those are to be confidential unless and until probable cause is found. And I believe you know, and I believe other people know, there was no probable cause found in any of those cases with me. So what you had is you had an investigation going on another judge. They made the comment about me, but the investigative panel that actually looked into each and every one of those allegations actually dismissed those against me. There was no finding of probable cause. And that's why it's a half-truth. It is the words were said, but it doesn't explain that in fact those were dismissed. They have never been proceeded against on me. They've been investigated but not found to be credible.
Okay. Next question for you. We'll stick with you. On your Facebook page, you ask your supporters to pray for your opponent, quote, in the spirit of Luke 6:27-28, which reads, "But I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you, bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you." Does that mean you consider Mr. McCray an enemy or someone who has behaved despitefully, that is hatefully or maliciously toward you?
How I would have to answer that is at the time that was written, there was not just Mr. McCray, but there was this other, I'm just going to call it a group, sort of a shadowy group that's out there that's taking out ads and things of that nature. I would not call Mr. McCray an enemy. I would not call him that. He's another human being. He's another lawyer. He's a member of the bar, as I am. But I would say that there are so many half-truths out there, and there are so many things going on with this other group that it is a time to pause and reflect. And I believe in the depths of my heart, though it doesn't sound like a logical thing to do, you are to pray for those who either are your enemies, which I don't consider him an enemy, but they despitefully use you or things of that nature. So yes, I think that it's appropriate to do that, yes.
For the record, no one's questioning the wisdom of the Scriptures.
Thank you.
Just seeing in which the context you're using.
I.
No, I know you're not. I was making clear that we weren't either. Let's stick with this group question for Mr. McCray. Sir, Citizens for Honest Judges is a limited liability company that has run an ad in area publications detailing recent litigation and other matters involving Judge Bryan. The ad says the group is not affiliated with a candidate or any party, and you have stated you are not behind this group. According to the State Division of Corporations, this group, Citizens for Honest Judges, is run by a woman named Christy Spurlock Weaver. That's a matter of public record. Do you have any current or former ties to Christy Spurlock Weaver?
No, I don't have any current ties to Christy Spurlock Weaver. I do know her. I know her about as well as I know Judge Paul Bryan. I've never had dinner at her house. Don't know her other than I know her through acquaintances. There's a small time where it seems like I did know her on a better basis, but she does work for the school system. Something of note, though, about this group, I don't have any affiliation or control over them, but I do appreciate that they do have their First Amendment rights and they're speaking. And some of the things that you mentioned is the findings, conclusions, and recommendings by the Judicial Qualifications Commissions. Now, this is Supreme Court case number SC 14383, and you read from it earlier, and they did single out my opponent, and they said that they received testimony concerning obvious conflicts of interest involving Judge Bryan and Attorney Decker. Judge Bryan failed to disclose any conflict of interest to parties who appeared before him. This group also, you'd have to be living under a rock or something not to hear of this group. So when I first heard of them, I went to their website, which is, I believe, citizensforhonestjudges.com. And at their website, I went because I wanted to see if what they were saying was accurate. And what I saw is that you can click on a link that takes you to every document, including my opponent's bankruptcy, where he filed bankruptcy for over $4.2 million in liabilities owed. And it's his signature. right there, Paul Bryan. And these are some of the information that they've talked about. So my time's up, but thank you.
We'll stick with you, Mr. McCray, for the next question. Sir, your campaign seems built almost exclusively on criticism of Judge Bryan. Setting aside those assertions, just for the moment, in what way, if any, are you better qualified than he to sit on the bench?
Thank you for that question. You know, we've gone around and had a lot of speaking events, and one thing that I hear over and over is that my opponent has more judicial experience. Well, that's true. The only way you can get judicial experience is by being a judge. And so I want to be your next judge. I have the experience as an attorney. Actually, when it comes to years of experience, I have 6 times more experience than my opponent as far as representing private individuals and small corporations. So I will use that experience to the betterment of our judiciary. It's a unique experience that I have. I've represented, like I said, over 1,000 individuals and small businesses. Being a small business owner is something that I can relate to. I understand the challenges of a small business. I know how it is to be able to have to pay bills. And there's been times where I've had to forfeit paychecks for long periods of time. I've had to sell personal items to make sure that my employees get paid, because that is something essential. And any small business owner understands that these individuals work, they sacrifice, sometimes they work overtime, they work weekends, and they do all these things. And sometimes as a small business owner, in addition to the taxes that we pay, in addition to the regulations that we have to undergo, we also have to sacrifice sometimes for our employees. And that's something that I'm willing to do. I'm willing to do that for the people of our circuit, for the people of Columbia County.
Thank you, sir. Next question for you, Judge Bryan. The rules, as you know, of campaigning are different for judicial candidates than for anybody else seeking political office. Has your opponent crossed the line, either in print or in person, during the campaign?
I think I would have to answer that as probably, and the reason is I don't get to ultimately make that decision. Someone else makes that decision only after a complaint is filed. There's been some things going back and forth that it's hard to say that they're okay under the rules, but I'm not going to say specifically that he has. The way he answered a couple of questions ago, where you asked about this Christy Spurlock Weaver, you had to be listening real carefully to what he said. You would think he barely knew her, but I believe that there's more to it than that, and I think that will probably come out a little bit later, but we'll see if it does. And if that's true, and there is a tie back to that particular group, then that's a very serious thing. But that has not been completely fleshed out yet. There have been some things that have been shown already, and there will probably be more that will be shown. I would have hoped and asked that this campaign stayed on a high level. We actually talked fairly early in the campaign about that. And I'd hoped we would talk about experience and qualifications and what would make a good judge and why you would be a good judge. But it didn't take very long before it started descending into something else. Partly with Mr. McCray, but partly with this other group. So I don't put the two together specifically, but those both were happening at the time.
Thank you, Judge. We'll stick with you for the next question. If you were to lose this race, or if you were to win this race, would you help us out with the procedure here, or tell us, would you consider, or are you considering filing any kind of grievance with state judicial authorities about the way the campaign has been run?
Considering would probably be the right way to say that. I am not one that in the middle of a campaign believes that you need to be firing back and forth about, let's file this complaint about that and that complaint. I would hope that you stayed at a certain level. You have to understand, my experience in running for office was against 2 gentlemen one time and 1 gentleman the other time, but that was a good while back. They conducted themselves as gentlemen. There was no third group, this shadowy LLC type of group attacking me. There was none of that. It was a clean campaign. They talked about their qualifications and why they should be judged. I talked about my qualifications and why I should be judged. And that's what I was used to. I'm really not used to a campaign of this type. And the way I would have to answer that, I'd have to look at everything, but I don't think that we need to be firing volleys back and forth at each other about filing complaints. We need to keep this campaign on a high level, and that's what I would like to do. My experience in this case is a big factor. I think when someone has the experience and someone does not really have the experience, they may attack other things. And I think that's what you're seeing. He's not going to go after me on experience level because really he can't compete with that. The experience of mine is much, much greater than the experience of his. This thing too, you should go back and listen to about having 6 times more experience with civil clients, or exactly how he said that. It's not that he's saying he had more years of experience than when I became a judge, but more years of experience in a certain limited type. Well, judges need to have a very broad spectrum of experience. I did before I became a judge. I'm afraid Mr. McRae really doesn't, and hence I believe that's why the attacks.
Next question for Mr. McRae. Sir, your decision to seek this seat was apparently made late in the game. You filed to run on the last possible day of qualifying. What were you weighing in making that decision, and what are some of the reasons that you waited so long to make the final decision?
Thank you for that question. Actually, I had been thinking about running for circuit judge ever since I was able to, so we're looking at about 14 or 15 years. But it's something that I was always satisfied as far as the other candidates or the judges that were running, and I didn't feel the pressing need. Although about a day or two before the qualifying, I knew it was coming close. I happened to get an email, I think it was something saying what the deadlines were, and I had an impression upon me. And I'm a man of faith, and I had a strong feeling that I needed to do something. So that's what I did. I prayed about it, and I got my answer. Part of my answer was I needed to talk to my family, my immediate family, which is my wife, my daughters, my wonderful mother, and my father who raised me, and also my law partner and my secretary, because financially it could have an impact on them. But once I got the decision, there was no question. Every one of them supported me 100%. I'm running a positive campaign. I've ran a positive campaign from day one. I have no control over this group, don't have any association with them. But my opponent, he leveled the first volley against me in a Facebook post, associating me with being slimy, with being connected with this group, saying that I was unethical, saying my opponent should know better. Now, he has since modified that. I asked him to take it down completely. He did not do that. But he said that talking about his opponent should know better, that I should know better, like I'm somehow associated with that. He said that I took North Florida politics to a new low. I promise you, I haven't. I've been running a positive campaign. It's not an attack on Paul Bryan, but the truth is the truth. And like cream, it will rise to the top. I want to be your next circuit judge because I will serve with humility. I'll be honest. I do believe character counts, and I do believe integrity matters.
So let me ask you another question, Mr. Gray. Same question I asked Mr. Judge Bryan a few moments before. Has your opponent crossed the line in this campaign, according to the rules of judicial ethics for campaigning?
Well, again, and I understand that my opponent doesn't want to answer that directly, and I understand that. When you're in the heat of a campaign, there are things that you can take out of context. Sometimes emotions run high. I do believe that post may have crossed the line, but at this point in time, I have not filed anything, and nor do I intend to at this time. However, I will give that deep consideration because I think it's important. As a judge or a judicial candidate, we are governed by Canon 7, the Judicial Code of Ethics. And so I think people expect more out of a judicial candidate and especially out of a judge. And what they expect is a little higher level of discourse and discussion. And so that's what I'm trying to bring to the table. I'm not running against Paul Bryan as much as I'm running to be circuit judge. I really want to be your next circuit judge. I've been working hard. I've been trying to meet as many people as I can, not just in Columbia County, but in all 7 counties. I don't know the exact square mileage of our circuit. I've been saying 5,000 plus or minus, but the other day I found out that in Taylor County alone, it's 1,250 miles. I've lost 35 pounds out campaigning, working, running around, meeting as many people as I can, because I want people to know who they're voting for. And so in doing so, I've got to meet some of the nicest people, the finest people, people that I would have never met if I was just sitting in an office. And so it's very important to me that I meet people. And if you find me on the street, if you see me, please come up to me, talk to me, ask me about my ideas, ask me about my experience. I want to be circuit judge because I believe that honesty does matter. I believe character is important, and I believe I have the character and the experience to be your next circuit judge.
Okay, Judge Bryan, last question of the evening for you. Let's talk about something substantive. How much of your docket is taken up with drug cases or drug-related crimes, and has the time finally come to reassess our progress in the war on drugs?
Both the criminal and the family and the civil docket are very much affected by drugs, as you would guess. A percent would be hard to put on there, but it's a higher percentage than any of us would want. In the criminal arena, you have a lot of drug sale cases and drug trafficking cases and things of that nature, and a lot of possession cases. But it bleeds over into the family law cases, how children are treated or how they're not treated, how their parents are more interested in drugs than they are their children. It bleeds over into everything. I was instrumental in helping to establish a drug court curriculum here in the Third Circuit. It didn't exist before I was a judge. Judge Bill Slaughter, who is retired now, he also helped with that. Others helped with that too. We tried to find alternatives, something where people can be treated. That program has gone up and down, ebbed and flowed, but in fact, many people have been helped with it, and they have gotten off drugs. That's a very, very important thing. As far as reassessing it, that's a societal issue, and you're probably right, it does need to be reassessed, relooked at. Are we going to do more treatment or more punishment? All of those things need to be looked at, but we need to look at that as a society, certainly not as a judge legislating from the bench about how that should be done. That's not the job of a judge. Interpreting law is, but legislating is not.
We're going to ask one more? Yep. Okay. Mr. McCray, you're successful. Why do you want to be a judge? You're a successful private attorney. You have been for almost 20 years. And not to pry into your finances, but you'll probably be taking a significant pay cut. Why do you want the job?
Well, I appreciate that question, Robert. You know, money's important. It's hard to eat without it. It's hard to pay bills without it. But money is not everything. Sometimes, and it might be kind of a corny answer, but it's the truth. Sometimes when someone's been given a lot, they have a desire to give back. And I have wisdom, I have knowledge, I have experience as a civil attorney and as an attorney in general. Like I've said, my practice hasn't been limited just to civil. I've done criminal, I've done probate, I've done family, I've done landlord-tenant, I've done disability, I've done aviation, I've done foreclosures, defended foreclosures. I've represented people in this circuit and specifically in Columbia County. And so while on some years it might be a pay cut, I think a judge makes a fine salary, and it's something that I can live on. I've ran my life so that most of everything I have is paid for. And so, you know, money, there's nothing wrong with having money. But there's everyone's a little bit different. With me, though, money does not rule my life. It's important. I need to have it to support my family, to support kids in college, my 3 daughters. My youngest daughter will be with me and my wife forever. So I need that security, but I've made good financial decisions. So I think I'm in a good place. I think I'm in a place where I can give back to the community and where I can be beneficial to use my knowledge and wisdom to be a circuit judge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates, for those answers. And that concludes the question and answer portion of this segment. It's time now for each candidate to make a 2-minute closing statement to the constituents in the 3rd Judicial Circuit. Mr. McCray went first. He will go last. Candidate Bryan, you have 2 minutes to close.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me use the word experience repeatedly, and you've heard my opponent use the word experience repeatedly. Compare the two. Even think of a scale of justice. How long each of us have been attorneys, how much we have actually accomplished in our lives. I was a prosecutor for 14 years. During that time, I had thousands of cases. I went on crime scenes and worked up cases from the day of the crime all the way through the trial and the sentencing and sometimes even into the appeal. I did that for a number of years. I then went into private practice to practice all the other types of law. And when I say practice, to help people, assist people with that, getting ready for having the position as a judge. Once I became a judge, I have tried to do my very best to listen to people, to make them feel comfortable. I realize when they come into court, it's a sort of a foreign situation to them. It's intimidating. I try to make them comfortable. Sometimes a smile, a quiet word, a cup of water, I ask the bailiff to get them a cup of water, will just go a long way. I also let them know that I have looked at their file before they came. I always let them know some things about the file so they know I already know about their case before they come in. That really soothes them quite a bit. I also treat others as I want to be treated. I want to have a decision in a case, and I want to have it fairly promptly, not necessarily at the moment that you finish the hearing, but soon thereafter. And I want to know that the judge considered what was presented and that he applied the law. I do all of those things. I send those out in readable, understandable decisions. I try to treat people as I want to be treated. And ladies and gentlemen, I've tried to do a very good job as your circuit judge. I would like to do one more term. Judges must retire in Florida at 70. I will not be 70 at the end of this term. But if elected to this term, I will give my very best till the very last day of this term. Then I would retire and I would be available as a retired judge to help other judges out when they would need to be away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for a closing statement from candidate McCray.
Thank you. And I appreciate everyone, the reporter, the chamber, and the college here for putting this on. And for everyone listening, my opponent is correct. Experience does matter, but it's the right type of experience that matters. You have to be the judge at this point. Do you want the experience of someone who has financial problems, where we're talking not just a small amount of sum, but we're talking bankruptcy for over $4.2 million in liabilities owed? Someone that a judge just recently in Polk County, Judge Keith Spodo, put this order out. And in this order, among other things, he says, talking about my opponent, Paul, he says, Paul's efforts to dispute his obligations to repay the trust were unavailing, according to plaintiff's own expert, J. Davis Conner. He testified that Paul raised in response to the note collection cases were frivolous, that he proposed sham settlement offers, and he engaged in endless dilatory tactics. We've already talked about conflicts of interest. That's not the kind of experience that I'll bring to the table. The type of experience I bring to the table will be one about fairness for all. It'll be about equality. Lady Justice wears a blindfold. There's a reason she wears a blindfold. There's not supposed to be any peeking. As your circuit judge, I will not peek. It will not matter your color. It will not matter your educational background. It will not matter your economic status. I will uphold the Constitution. The Constitution is what this country was founded on. When I put on a black robe, I will not lose my common sense values that I gained here in North Florida. Please vote for me on August the 30th. Early voting begins on the 20th. I want to be your next circuit judge. Character does count. Integrity matters. I appreciate y'all's time. Y'all have a good night. God bless.
Thank you, gentlemen. And that will conclude day one of the candidate forums here at Florida Gateway College. I'd like to thank all the candidates for their attendance and would like to thank our sponsors, the law offices of Thomas Demas and Moe's Southwestern Grill, and the Mann family especially. Please stay tuned to Florida Gateway College Television and Power Country Radio on Thursday of this week, when we will have the candidates for State House of Representatives District 10, both Republican and Democrat, Columbia County School Board, and the candidates for Superintendent of Schools here in Columbia County. A reminder that Marion Street Deli and Pub in downtown Lake City is offering a place to watch candidate forums if you have no place to watch it on Comcast or online. From the Chamber Government Relations Committee at Florida Gateway College and the Lake City Reporter, for Robert Bridges, I'm Mike McKee. Good night, everyone.